Chapter 2: The Art of Defining Success. There are very few times in life when being selfish or self-centered is desirable. However, when you're setting your goals, it needs to be all about you and what you want to be, do, or have. Whether you're reading my book or anyone else that purports to guide you to success, you first need to agree on a definition of success and be sure the person leading you knows how to get there. All of my grandparents and both of my parents come from a pleasant town called Springfield. Springfield has much to recommend it in the way of historical sites and recreational activities. Let's say you and I agree to meet for a long weekend in Springfield to discuss our respective professional and personal goals as well as enjoy some of the local attractions and recreational activities. This sounds like a pleasant prospect to me, as I hope it will to you. However, unless you are acquainted with my grandparents or parents, you and I would have a tremendous challenge getting together because there are over 30 cities and towns in the United States named Springfield. I'm sure many of the various Springfields have wonderful attractions and notable attributes. However, unless we agree on the same Springfield, we will not get together, and my directions and roadmap will be useless to you. In each of the more than 30 Springfields across the country, there are people who were born and raised there or have chosen it as the best place for them and their family to live their lives. Millions of people call Springfield home, but they do not mean the same thing when they use the word Springfield or home. Success is much the same. I am convinced that there are as many definitions for success as there are people. More people fail not because they are unable to reach their goal, but instead because they have defined their goal or success as the wrong thing. Success is probably the most private and personal definition you and I will ever establish. Therefore, as we work together creating our own picture of success, we can only accept limited help along the way. If this weren't difficult enough, the challenge of defining success is compounded when you realize that your personal success definition will be constantly changing throughout your life. Many self-proclaimed success gurus encourage us to compartmentalize our success. They may label these compartments financial success, business success, family success, fitness success, etc. While I would agree these are all components of your personal success definition, you can't truly succeed in one area while failing miserably in another. The Titanic, which had been called unsinkable as it has been built and launched, became the most famous ship of all time for doing the one thing no one wants their ship to do, that is to sink. There might be many definitions of a successful ship, whether it be militarily, financially, aesthetically, or in overall performance, but I think we can all agree in ship terms, sinking could be synonymous with failure. When the Titanic was constructed, it was built with a number of watertight compartments. The engineers designed the Titanic to stay afloat even if several of these compartments were flooded. Unfortunately, all of the compartments were connected at the top, so when the Titanic hit an iceberg in the North Atlantic, the water that flooded several of the compartments overflowed at the top and flooded the entire ship. Therefore, the Titanic sank. Your and my success is much the same way. Failure in any area will affect all areas. Success could be looked upon like a three-legged stool. For the sake of this analogy, you might have a financial success leg, a family success leg, and a physical success leg. It is important to realize that you can become the greatest financial success the world has ever known, but if you lose your family and ruin your health in the process, you will not be successful, even if the world may view you as a success. Our media-driven society has created a phenomenon over the past several decades that is unique to our modern culture. Through magazines, television, radio, and the internet, and every other means of communication, we are bombarded with information about people and how they live. People have become famous in ways they never were before. We have always admired famous athletes, but now we may know where they spend their vacation, what they like to eat for breakfast, and the name of their dog. People have always admired great artists and actors, but now we know every sordid detail of not only their professional lives, but we know far more than we need to about their personal lives. We constantly consume information and images about the lifestyles of the rich and famous and how some people are rising to the pinnacle of our society while others are falling from the same pinnacle and plummeting toward the depths of disgrace. In this environment, it is easy to get a warped view of success. One of the big lies we are bombarded with regularly is the corrupting thought that if we had enough money, all our problems would be solved. One need look no further than the daily headlines to learn about some of the wealthiest among us who have lost their health, sacrificed their family, disregarded their integrity, and have subjected themselves to all manner of human failure. Recent studies of people around the world, from the wealthiest to those living in abject poverty, reveal that beyond the basic necessities of food, clothing, and shelter, more money doesn't make us happy and therefore successful. Any discussion of money and success would be lacking if I did not state that money is neither good nor bad. In the hands of good people, money can build places of healing, worship, and learning. In the hands of bad people, money can create death, disease, and destruction. In my life, I have been very poor and very rich. All other things being equal, never forget that rich is better. While money in and of itself will not create success, I believe from my personal and professional contact that Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and Steve Forbes are each in their own way quite successful. They are not a success because they have amassed great wealth. Instead, they are successful because they have created value in the lives of other people that has brought them wealth, and they have utilized their financial success to make the world a better place. If money were a prerequisite to being successful, we would all have to agree that Mother Teresa was an absolute failure. Fame and notoriety have been mistakenly labeled as success by many in our society. We have people whose names have become household words for playing baseball, being on a television show, eating insects on an island, dating a famous person, and there are even people today who are famous for nothing more than being famous. As a society, we have all gotten caught up in a massive parade, and no one has yet stopped to take a deep breath and consider the fact that we're not following this person because they're famous. Instead, this person is famous because we're following them. Fame in and of itself is not a factor in success. Some of the most famous people in the 20th century would include Winston Churchill, Franklin Roosevelt, Adolf Hitler, John F. Kennedy, Sandra Day O'Connor, Martin Luther King Jr., and Lee Harvey Oswald. Some of these people, we would all agree, lived lives of great success, while others were miserable failures in spite of their fame. Some of the most successful people in the world will never be known by anyone other than the people whose lives they powerfully and positively impact. These people have defined success in such a manner that achieving their life goals does not bring them fame and notoriety. In some cases, the anonymity is a byproduct of their success goal, and in other cases, they have defined success at least partially as living their lives away from the spotlight. Success has furthermore been misdefined as being young, healthy, or beautiful. While these are all desirable traits in the right time and place, they are not a sole determinant of what we would call success. Those who worship at the altar of youth and beauty will necessarily find themselves fighting a losing battle. Your hairdresser, tailor, and plastic surgeon can only do so much. If you define yourself totally by the image in the mirror, if you simply live long enough, you will fail due to your own misguided definition of success. While you will have to fill in the details and the specific elements of your own success, when it's all said and done, you will find that success comes when you live a life of productivity on a mission toward a worthwhile goal that brings you happiness, passion, and fulfillment. Chapter